even happy couples can cheat. I know that sounds very weird, right? And really very startling. But let me tell you a story. So, when I was dating my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, and we were living in two different cities. We talk almost every day. We have a very good communication. And if in the last 14 years that we've known, I can count on my fingers how many times we don't talk in a particular day. But guess what? This particular day, she calls me up and says, "Babe, there's this particular guy who happens to know all of my exam days and just happens to be there at the right time and calls to check up on me and all of that." And that for me was an SOS call. Now, we were living in two different cities. What did I do? I packed up my bag the next week and I traveled over to where she was and I spent time with her. I think for about a week or two. We bonded and then eventually things went back to normal. Now, we were not quarreling. We were not having issues. There was no fight, but we were obviously drifting apart. And that particular call was a wake-up call for me to say, you need to check in to be updated with what's happening in your partner's life. Sometimes our partners leave these subtle cues for us, but we often miss it because it's almost like we check around and we're like, okay, well, nothing is really going wrong, right? Nothing is really happening. But you know that adulthood shows up in such a way that time can just be passing and you will be with someone, but you guys are necessarily not connecting. That was what was happening to me. And that's why in my work as a psychotherapist, I have seen time and time again where two happy people who have a good relationship going on for them, at least by the definition of what we may know as good relationship, you end up seeing infidelity or an affair spring up from somewhere. What exactly happens? Sometimes it's just an innocent passing remark from a colleague who says to maybe the female or the male partner in the relationship that, I just feel like there's a personality locked up inside of you. And then that person goes back and starts to ask themselves, who could I have been if I probably was not in this relationship? What are the chances that if I have gone a different direction, I would have been a different person? And your partner thinking this way doesn't necessarily make them wrong or does not mean that they are ungrateful or they are unhappy about the relationship. Like the example I gave to you, my fiancée then wasn't complaining to me. She wasn't saying that, oh, something was wrong in our relationship. Although at the end of the conversation, she somewhat signaled that, she feels like something is off, right? So she gave me that hint. Now, one of the ways that you can constantly ensure that you are connecting with your partner is to ensure that you ask them a particular question. And I'm going to talk about that question in the video. Now, the first thing you want to know is that a happy relationship is not necessarily affair proof. And when I talk about a happy relationship, it means you have a good home, you have a good car, the both of you live in a nice apartment, you have good kids, once in a while you go on dates, you travel together and all of that. That's the idea of a happy relationship, isn't it? Right? But it's very important to understand that what may affair proof your relationship is the ability to get intimate. And I'm not just talking about the other room intimate, which is to be sexually intimate with each other. I'm talking about finding time to bring up conversations that help you really, really connect. And one of such conversations that will really help you connect is the both of you will take turns to ask yourself these questions. Question number one: how married are you? Now, what does how married are you help you discover? Take, for example, if your partner has gone out of their way to do something for you that was sacrificial for them, but you know nothing about, that gives you an opportunity to hear what they have done. Because if, for example, I am the partner asking my partner, how married are you? My partner tells me something that they have done for me that I obviously do not even know about, but was very, very touching for me or even sacrificial, for my partner. Now, another question, and this is where the meat of the matter really is that the question is, ask your partner, if you were not in this relationship, what do you think your life would have been like? Or another way to phrase the question is to say, while you are in this relationship, do you feel like you are missing out on something? Maybe something you could have done with your life, a passion you could have pursued, or something that you could have done that you feel, oftentimes you remember it, and then there's just that aching inside of you that you feel like, oh, okay, or something that you could have been. What this does is that it opens up the door for the both of you to have conversations about, one, the areas where you sacrifice for each other, two, the areas where you have some of your fears or you feel like you are missing out on life. Because what often happens is that, especially for women, now I understand that this can actually happen for men as well, but especially for women, sometimes they are caught in the frenzy of pursuing a career, managing a home, giving birth to children, raising those children, and they stop optimizing for themselves, or they even stop taking care of themselves. They deprioritize their needs, they deprioritize things that they could have done, they sacrifice those things. And I've also heard older women say how painful it is when the children have grown up and they've maybe all gone to college and university, and they're trying to connect with them, and they're like, Mom, you're calling me too much. And in their heart, they're like, look at the child I sacrificed so much for. But really, that's really, really life, right? So what you want to help your partner do, even as a man or as a woman, depending on which side of the divide you're sitting on, is to constantly help your partner to discover what they probably would have been missing out as a result of being here. Now, because if you don't do this, chances are that your partner goes out every day. Your partner meets people every day. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I know this may sound very controversial, but it is what it is. Your partner is not the most beautiful woman in the world. Your partner is not the most handsome guy in the world. Your partner is simply someone whom you have chosen to be with despite the existence of others. Now, if you come to terms with that and you come to peace with that, you stand the chance of living a happier, better life, right? Now, knowing that, you would realize that your partner will go into life. They will meet people that are maybe smarter than you are, people that are maybe more financially well-to-do than you are, or whatever you. And it only just takes a question to open a door that was never supposed to be open in the first place, which is that this person just looks your partner in the eyes and say, I just feel like there's a part of you that is locked up and that has never been expressed. Now, it may not even be the word. It may just be how that person is saying it, the state in which your partner was when that person was saying it, the atmosphere that was probably happening in the home that very day. Now, woe betide you if you get home that day and then there's just that fight. And then that word keep ringing in your partner's head and all of that. And this is the reason why I would always advocate that communication is the lifeblood of a relationship. The more you communicate, the more you take turns to be teachers and students in that relationship, the better your chances of having a very, very beautiful relationship. So take it from me, right? You stand the chance of affair-proving your relationship if you take the time to find out what your partner has gone out of their way to do for you, because that way you're not working with assumption. And secondly, if you do the work of constantly asking your partner what their aspirations are, what their dreams are they happy in this marriage? There's something my wife randomly just does. Sometimes she just looks at me and asks me, Beam, because that's what she calls me, right? Are you happy in this marriage? And, you know, in the early phase of our marriage, whenever she asks me that question, I'm just but in the much later years, right, I started to see that question as an invitation for us to talk about areas where there are great issues and all of that. So take time to talk to your partner. Take time to connect with your partner. If you go on dates, these are good conversation starters. When you travel and you're all by yourself, these are good conversation starters, because the honest truth is that the kids will one day leave home and you'll be left with each other. You don't want to go into old age thinking, what could my life have been if I did not go down this path? And is there something else that I'm missing out on by being here and being with this person? But here is the interesting part. It takes two willing parties, and if the both of you have chosen each other, you can always make it work.